Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and Accounting Show, and today we're talking to a founder of a amazing firm that is doing some great things. And I guess when we jump into the story, you'll understand exactly why I say he's doing some great things. So stay tuned for the show. Welcome to another episode of the Finance and the Accounting Show. This is the place to go for small business owners. If you're looking for a great way to understand the finance and the accounting side of your business, you're in the right place. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. So without further ado, let me bring my guest on. John, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, John, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is bringing on other firm founders and owners on, because it's very different from practicing accounting to actually running a firm. So it's always a pleasure to bring on other firm founders on.
Yeah, happy to be here. And you're right. It's a little bit of a different skill set doing the accounting versus, managing the company.
Now, for you, like, what was your path? Like, how did you even get into accounting and then segue your way into actually like running a firm?
So, I was fortunate to have a really great mentor in my life at an early age where I was choosing like what I should do in college. When I went to college, I thought, you know what? I want to be a professional video game player. I just want to make money playing video games. And at that point, it wasn't really a thing. Apparently, I was a decade ahead of my time. But then I started taking some classes and realized, not a single homework assignment was just to play video games. I should probably do something more because it was way more complicated. And so I asked this mentor, I go, based on what you know about me, what do you think? I mean, this guy, he's a successful business owner, owns some dealerships, started some other businesses, was the mayor of a town, really well-versed guy. And he said, based on my personality, he felt like business or being a lawyer would probably be something I'd be good at. And it just so happened that both those paths took me through an accounting class in college. And it was the first time in my life that a subject clicked. Like, everything else I've always had to work at. I've had to put the time into study, and I still had to study. Don't get me wrong. Accounting is crazy, and the tax code 76,000 pages. But it was like the concepts, it just made sense to me. It felt right. So I'm like, this has got to be my thing. And so that kind of started me on the path. And I took my first job out of college was as a controller for a door-to-door sales company. And that, I'm sure we might get into more of that story depending on where your questions go. But that company ended up closing its doors. And so here I am with this accounting degree. In fact, I had a master's degree in tax. And I'm like, I was taught from my school to be an employee. Like, hey, be an employee, become a cog in the wheel, work for a Big Four accounting firm. That's the path of happiness. And here I was, I took a job at a very large company. I mean, they did $30 million in revenue the same year they closed their doors.
Wow.
And it's like, I thought that should have given me job security. That's what I was taught. And come to find out, it didn't, because I didn't make the decisions that led to the demise of the company. And I realized I'd rather have control over my life. And maybe that means waking up every day unemployed, because that's what we do as business owners. We're unemployed every day. We wake up and we have to go out and make money. And so that gave me better control. And that's kind of how I got into not just being the accountant, but now owning the accounting firm.
Gotcha. No, I mean, such an amazing story. So I definitely want to dive in a little bit more on that. Now, one of the things that, that you talked about was, like that, being in that place where, like I said, you didn't really make any of the decisions that led to the demise of that company. And later on, you went on, like I said, now starting a very successful firm. So what was it like making that mental switch from you were trained to be a cog in the wheel? Now it's just like, hey, it's my job to actually create the wheel. Like, what was that journey like for you?
It was slow. I mean, having been taught all that and as an introvert and just a natural, like, detailed person, I don't know if you're familiar with the Colby Score at all. It this test you can take that tells you what your modus operandum is, like how do you approach problems. And some people, lots of entrepreneurs are quick starts. They just naturally have an idea and they're willing to jump in. I am not a natural quick start. My quick start score is as low as it can possibly go. And so I analyzed a lot of stuff. I thought through it. Luckily for me, bad times helped motivate me, because with a company that's going under, again, I'm sticking to this ideal at the time, like, no, job security. Like, they don't talk about the possibility that the company you're working for is going to go out of business. That's never brought up in any classes as they teach you work for a company. And here it is going out of business. So in my head, I'm like, no, it's not possible. They'll turn it around. We did $30 million in revenue. The owners will figure it out. And so I ended up working for that company for a few months without getting a paycheck.
Oh, wow.
And I was married at the time. We had a kid, and my wife was pregnant. And I'm not bringing home any money yet, working 50 to 60 hours a week, trying to do my part in helping the company stay in business. And so it came down to enough is enough. And we can't, we have to pay our own bills. And so I was fortunate enough that a neighbor at the time had just started an accounting firm. And so I could go to him because he had an existing thing. And I'm like, hey, I have a master's degree in tax and I'm about to lose my job, or really I lost my job because I'm not getting paid. I'm just the idiot still showing up to try to help. So it was kind of the need to put food on my table that really helped me flip that switch. Just because it's not a natural inclination that I had to just, let's dive in. Because even nowadays, like as I grow, we have 30 team members, which is crazy to me, thinking about where I came from, and now we have this big company. I am the most incompetent person in my business at any time, because here's the issue. We've always grown. Every single year that I've been in business, the firm has grown in revenue, which means I've never owned and operated a company at the size that I'm currently at. If I went back and we decreased revenue, it's like, oh, I know how to manage that company. I could have some competency in it. But the reality is I don't. And so what I found is it's been really helpful to have mentors that actually been down this path before I have. And so I can rely on them. And obviously we make mistakes. I think as owners, we need to give ourselves more grace with the mistakes we make, because it's just a natural part of what we do.
I think that is definitely very true. I mean, from just making that transition of growing, and like I said, you've never been at this stage before. So it brings up a very interesting point of, as you navigate new phases and, leading from the front, I mean, how do you then at the same time inspire confidence in the people who are trusting your leadership as you guys are growing and making it your way through new areas?
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a part of the answer is I don't know how I'm doing it. Some of my mentors have done a really good job of helping me understand the importance of us casting our vision so that they see the vision. I'm also a very open person, and I'm not, my team knows that when I make a mistake, I own it. I apologize. And I just talk through, this is why I made that decision. This is what I learned. And so they have confidence that they can see, what, John may not always make the right decisions, but we know that if it's the wrong decision, it usually gets fixed pretty quickly. And then a lot of the decisions end up working out because I am safe by nature. And so I try to only make decisions once I've really thought them out. And of course, at this point with 30 team members, I have a leadership team. So there's 4 of us that meet. And so it's not just I'm not in a silo anymore. Other people can bring in, based on the departments they're managing, what they think we should do based on their experience, because they're more in the day-to-day and dealing with the front lines than I am at this point.
Awesome. That is amazing. I mean, it's amazing to hear, you said, the growth that you've gone through. And so I'm very curious about, when it comes down to the types of clients that your firm specializes in helping, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, we spend a lot of effort talking to fitness professionals and gym owners, but they still only represent like 25% of our clients. So we have realtors, we have like not a ton of manufacturing, a lot of service-based companies, coaches, dentists. But ultimately, I would say it's more of a behavior of clients. Like we are really looking for the owner who believes that by them growing, they are making the world a better place. They have a desire to leave a legacy on their community. And so for us, because look, there are people out there who are just interested in making a buck. And we've seen those. We're probably on email lists from some of those people where it's just like they're constantly trying to sell to us. That's not who we are. It doesn't fit our culture. It doesn't fit our personality. And again, to each their own, that's what they've chosen. We just enjoy working better knowing that by us helping our clients grow their wealth through tax savings and cash flow management, they then can take that and we're confident that they're going to make the world a better place. And so like that's kind of motivates us to keep doing what we're doing and, provide all that we provide for them because it's better. Everybody wins in that scenario.
No, I absolutely love it. I mean, from my background of like I said, of being a CPA as well, like I don't focus on taxation, but it's one of those things that I always tell clients is like, having a good tax person that can help you understand and wrap your mind around that part of your business is like very critical. So when business owners come to your firm, are most of them or any of them usually well versed in it, or are a lot of them just kind of like, hey, we need some help in this area?
Yeah, the majority are not well versed. Occasion, I would say a handful, maybe 5 times a year, we'll come across a client and we can say, you are set up very good. But most of the time, they didn't choose the right entity. They're overpaying themselves in a W-2. They're not looking at the distributions the right way. They certainly aren't understanding how the IRS looks at business deductions or how the tax code explains how you can write off things. And so, not super well versed, which isn't surprising, right? No one goes into business because they want to understand the tax strategy behind the stuff that they're actually passionate about.
No, I completely agree because I definitely think that, from even when I think about my graduate degree, where some of the advanced tax strategy classes that we had to take, where I was like, what, there probably aren't very many business owners that actually understand this or even care to know it to this level of detail.
Right. Yeah, exactly. In fact, we actually oftentimes have to teach our accountants, like, look, our job is to speak human to our clients, not accountant. And based on their question, you have to immediately jump to what's the result to them. That's what they want to know. They don't need to understand that there's 7 forms they have to get filled out and how the IRS is going to process it and which tax code it's relevant to. Like, they don't care about that information. So please, for love, stop sharing it with them. They don't want it.
It's something I did a talk once, and we were talking about, it was communication for accountants. And that was one of the things that I brought up is like, sometimes like our technical know-how becomes a barrier to like them actually getting the bottom line of what we want them to know. Cause I'm like, they really don't care about how technical what we do and what we know. They just want the result.
Exactly. They want, and a lot of times, like just the way the tax code uses words, it's not normal definitions of that word. And so it's like, I said this, but they heard something else because of the way they understand that word in their life.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, how have you found it with, with growing such a great team? I mean, with 30 people, I mean, that's amazing growth as a team. I mean, considering, like you said, you started from in theory, working for free for a company that was going under to now leading a team of 30 people. What has that journey been like as you've seen more people come on the team and you've seen like the reach of your firm grow even more with every person that comes on the team?
Yeah, it's very fulfilling. But it's been a wild journey. I mean, it's been, I guess 6 years now, 7 years. You know, if anyone's listening and they haven't hired anyone yet, I would say like, man, having that first hire is super important. But that was a big hurdle for me because up until that point, if I made mistakes, I was the only one who was affected. But now bringing on someone full time, knowing that, you know, I'm providing for their livelihood. Now, when I make a mistake, it also affects them. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever heard this analogy, but like someone who doesn't have children, they might drive a little bit differently. But as soon as they have a kid and that kid is in the car, or even if it's not, now all of a sudden there's someone else relying on you. We become a little bit more careful, less risk taking, you know? But from that first hire, which was again a big hurdle, because it's like, oh, I don't even know if I have enough work for that person, which is laughable. I promise you have enough work to. Everyone has enough work to have another person on right now. That's just the nature of things. But then, yeah, as we grow, what's interesting is my view on things has changed. When I first started out, it was how do I put food on the table, and then it became okay. Now I'm comfortable. How do I make sure my team members have a good life? Because accounting firms in general, they actually suck. They like the big four suck. And they provide a lot of golden handcuffs to people. And they're so big and obviously the work's there. But I don't like the culture they've created. I learned my lesson when I worked at Deloitte. And you have this scenario then where these other smaller accounting firms are just trying to copy their model. And I don't like that because really they treat their staff like they're like replaceable. And yes, on one hand, as a business owner, you have to know that your people are replaceable so you don't hold on to bad people. But you don't approach it from the standpoint of like, I'm going to wear you out until you're burnt out, and then I'm just going to replace you because now you're not putting in the time that I need you to. Like, I mean, work shouldn't feel like prison. And so then my view started changing. Like, man, I have all these people. I want to make sure they're happy. I don't ever want to have this scenario where we're an accounting firm that has the same problems that the big four have. I mean, you can go to any of those like Glassdoor types of things where people are typing out their actual experiences with the accounting firms. I mean, they're crazy horror stories. And so it kind of changed from that. So now I have like a dual focus. I want to help our clients grow their wealth through our services. But I also want to change the accounting industry. I want to prove that that there's a better model. And you know what? Yeah, I make less money as the shareholder than what I would make if I followed a traditional model that the big four follow. But I believe the world is just smarter now. And as owners, we have to be willing to give something up for the sake of longevity and well-being for the people who are helping us grow our company in the first place. I think we need to be past the point where we treat people the way they've been treated as if they're not actually human. And so that's kind of been the biggest change in my journey. Is as I add more people, I'm like, good. Now we'll get to the point where other accounting firms can't ignore my model, and they may have to be forced to change in order to stay in business.
No, I absolutely love it. I mean, I love the way that, like I said, the mindset just of changing, because I too came from public accounting, and yeah, I remember living some of those horror stories and hearing the horror stories from others, to where it's just like, after a while, when you see like, wow, these same horror stories just like live on generation after generation, to where it's just like, yeah, at some point, something has to change.
Yeah. I mean, hey, John, where you going? I've worked 65 hours this week. I was going to go home. I'm tired. You've only worked 65 hours this week? Like, don't you want the promotion? Don't you know? It's like, how many hours do I have to work to impress you people?
Gotcha. Now, speaking of your awesome firm, where can people find you online or on social media to see all the awesome things going on with your firm?
Yeah, so our website is incitetax.com. And we actually spell it, as you can see there, incite as in to incite a riot. The word actually means to cause to action. And so we just like our clients, we want to help them take action. But we have a ton of blog posts, a lot of free resources there. If anyone's looking for tax strategies, a lot of good stuff there. And then, of course, the contact us page if anyone wants to reach out and chat with us.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. Now, before we wrap up, one of the questions that I like to ask every guest that comes on is, when you think about your journey of kind of where you've been and you think about where you are now and just the vision you have for where you're going next, what's 2 pieces of advice that you would share with other small business owners?
I don't know if these will be related, but the first things that come to mind is when you talked about the vision, I didn't always have the vision. It was, I'm showing up to work, clients are calling us, prospects are calling us. I'm literally just going through the motions. And yes, I took an approach of I want to create value for people, but I had no idea what I wanted my firm to do, where I wanted it to go. And if we take that approach, which happened with me, and I see it with my clients all the time, as your income increases, your expenses will continue to increase at the same pace, if not faster, because you don't have a plan. And so having a plan, even if it's a simple cash flow plan where you're setting aside money for different purposes as you go, so that money is going to be there, like, I don't know, to say pay taxes. I recommend setting aside money for taxes throughout the year, twice a month, once a week, in little dollar amounts, so that at the end of the year, when you do have that tax bill, because you have a successful business, you're not worried about, oh crap, where am I going to come up with the money for this? But part of it too is, what was the plan? Like, we grew at a nice clip, but it wasn't until I sat down and actually put together a forecast of what do I actually want the company to be. It's like, okay, if I was 300,000 in revenue that year, my goal is to be 750,000 the next year. What do I need to do to hit that? And you backtrack into that. If you without doing the work, you're just leaving your growth up to chance. And so I recommend everyone have some sort of plan where they're actually forecasting. And if anyone's accountant and you serve other people, this is a game changer. Your clients are going to love that you are thinking through, let me help you create a plan and let me help you back into it, so that every month now you can compare where you're at to where the plan is, instead of, because without that, you just show up every day. You answer emails, you answer phone calls, you have meetings, you do work. And I hope it works out. So that definitely came to mind. I would recommend that. Second thing, I've seen this. I'm part of some other accounting group organizations, and so I see accountants where, and this applies to all business owners. It doesn't have to be the accounting industry. They hired some team members, and those team members didn't work out, and it caused extra headaches in their life. Put a lot of training into them. I invested in them, and they ended up stinking. So then they quit, they stop. They just go back to this idea of, well, it's just better if I do all the work myself always. If someone is consciously choosing to have a lifestyle business and they only want to rely on themselves, if it's a conscious choice, I say more power to you. That's your choice. Enjoy your life. I feel like most people I hear, though, who say I'm just going to do it myself, they're running away from developing the skills they need to be a leader for other people.
Wow.
But if you think about the footprint that you can leave on the world as a business owner, you do the world more good the bigger your company is. Because wouldn't you rather people work for you instead of these other companies who treat employees just like they're another cog in the wheel and they don't treat them like humans? Your audience probably sees what I'm talking about. They're like, yeah, I treat all my people like humans. So wouldn't you prefer them work for you? If that's the case, you kind of have a responsibility to develop these skill sets, which I don't have all of them. I'm still learning them, but there is an extra skill set that we need to develop as owners on how to lead our team so that when we hire them, they're getting the direction they need so that the company can actually grow. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to grow your company, you have to leverage other people's skill sets. It's just not possible for one human being to do everything that we're going to need in a growing company.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. Well, John, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing your insight and your wisdom. And before we wrap up, can you repeat the website one more time for people to go and check it out?
Yeah, it's incitetax.com, INCITE tax.com.
Awesome. Well, John, thanks for being an awesome guest on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.